Hello and welcome to my first Q&A. I've had loads of fantastic questions from you all, so thank you so much. I'm going to get straight on with it. Why not? Izzy Beth asks, now a few people are interested in the identity of IB. If you're new to my channel, IB stands for Invisible Boyfriend. He's my real boyfriend and he just doesn't like to be on camera. So Izzy Beth asks, can you get IB to draw a self-portrait so we can picture what he looks like? Now I knew I didn't have a hope in hell of getting IB to do this, but I thought I'd ask him anyway and see what he said. And he said a few things. He said he doesn't want to detract from my loveliness. Yes, nice one. He says he's an instrumentalist but not a performer. Just because you play a musical instrument doesn't mean you naturally feel comfortable performing. And I think he's great on stage anyway, but he disagrees, but that's another thing. Anyway, yeah, so he said that he's not comfortable in a sort of performance role. He's a private person, he doesn't want to be in the limelight. It's very unusual actually because he doesn't do social media at all. Not even WhatsApp, like nothing, because he doesn't want his data to be harvested, basically. So he really keeps right out of all social media limelight. So I can't believe he actually lets me use his audio, but he does. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But he's teased us a little bit because he said one day this may change. So we'll just have to see about that, won't we? Right, next question is from Faye, and this is actually a homeschooling related question. She says, hi Imo, do you miss homeschooling Izzy? And if so, what part? Do I miss homeschooling? I do and I don't. Overwhelmingly, I don't miss it because I feel that it came to its own natural conclusion. So I didn't have any instinct at all to continue. Also no, because, you know, I've had a frustrating 15 years or more having to repress my own career aspirations. You know, I trained to be a musician, got all these skills, did a music degree, you know, all those years of flute lessons, and then just had to sort of just, you know, keep it ticking over really for all that time. I couldn't really develop it properly. So I was frustrated by that. So no, I don't miss homeschooling from that aspect because I'm really happy being able to concentrate for long periods without interruption on doing music work and stuff like that. So no, but kind of do at the same time. And here are some of the things that I miss. Home educating, when you really do follow the interests of the child, it can make you really mindful because you're really focused on what they are gravitating towards naturally, and then you gravitate with them to those things, and you can really become very absorbed in quite a deep level together in that one thing that they've gravitated towards. So you can become really aware or mindful about whatever that thing might be, because it might be something in your environment at the time, even if it's just balancing on the bough of a tree or something and you're holding their hand and they're just really concentrating on their balance. Like if they're really young, you know, that's just one example that's come to the top of my head. They might be fascinated by the contents of a rock pool and you'll sit and watch it with them and you take things in on a whole new level. Then you might Google about it, or you might get a book from the library about it, or watch a video about it together, and you really go on these tangential journeys of discovery together. So it's quite bonding, but it's also quite intensely interesting and you learn a lot in a really natural way, I think. I miss, personally, selfishly, from homeschooling, I miss the social life. There's a bit of a false rumour out there. I think that homeschoolers have no social life. Oh yes, they do. Well, all the ones I met did anyway, because I was socialising with them at the time. A lot of home ed groups, but also home ed activities that they have outside of the groups as well. And so every day of the week I was with these like-minded other parents who were on the same journey as me. Although we might have had slightly different education philosophies, we were essentially on the same page with, you know, really wanting to put a lot of input into our children. And it was a community. It was over a wide catchment because people would travel from far and wide to come together, and there's a lot of commuting for it, but it really was very fulfilling socially for me. So I miss that aspect. I miss the day trips that we would have, or field trips if you want to say it in schooly language. Like, you know, she'd say, oh, I'm really interested in castles. So we'd go to a castle, we'd find out about the castle together. All that stuff. I miss all those day trips because we had a very varied and interesting life. You know, we might do some school on the train on the way to the day trip and do a bit more in the evening when we got back to fit it all in, but we'd fit in so many of those really interesting and stimulating day trips. I miss that. I miss the read alouds because I used to read to her a lot as part of the school and bedtime stories, but it was kind of, you know, it's all integrated into schooling. It's hard to know where the schooling ends and life starts. Well, I mean, it's all integrated. It doesn't end and start. It all is all in one thing. So doing the read alouds, it was very bonding as well. And it was almost like experiencing something together, but by proxy. And so we'd get to know these characters in the fictional books and be able to discuss themes that came up, maybe some difficulties between characters in the books, maybe some disputes, and so we could talk about dispute resolution, you know, did they do the right thing? We could relate it to other things that were going on in our lives. We learned a lot about history through reading a lot of books that were set in olden times, and we just felt that we shared that experience together. And again, it was a very intense way of learning about things and prompt for discussions so much between us. We'd have the book on the lap just talking about the issues that they brought up together. So that's something I miss. I miss the togetherness. I've kind of talked about that, you know, how bonding those things were on a one-to-one basis because there were only two of us. And I miss the learning because I learned a lot too. I basically got to have all my school again, but this time it meant so much more to me than when I was a child myself, sitting in a classroom, learning it in a more academic style. It was proper life learning, so I learned it more deeply. I know all sorts of random things now that I otherwise wouldn't. I still learn every day now, but in a different way. I'm learning for me now rather than for us. I do not miss commuting to groups and classes. Some of them were all right, but it was the late night get homes. Well, it wasn't late night, but you know, if it was an 8 o'clock finish and we had a long commute back and there was a long wait for the train, we could get back pretty late, tired occasionally. More if she was like preparing for some performances or something. There might be multiple late evening rehearsals and stuff, and it was a pain by public transport. And again, Sundays, quite often there'd be rail replacement buses. That could be quite a pain in the butt. So I don't miss that. I think I do less travelling now, but poor old Izzy does it to college. We got some good news on that. Going off on a tangent from the Q&A, Izzy's managed to negotiate with the tutor today that she can do a lot more home learning now till the end of her course, because the rail replacement buses have just made the commute unfeasible. She's feeling mentally, physically burnt out. She really is from it. And I said, look, just have a word with them, just make sure it doesn't impact your final grade. But I think all the assessed stuff is done. See if you can come to an arrangement. And she has. She's only going in once or twice a week now until the end of the course. So that's massive. That's really good. Right. I'm going to move on to the next question now. This is from Katie Lindsay, and she says, what inspired you to start creating content for YouTube? It was kind of a natural progression. I think I could have been a vlogger before it was invented, if it had been invented, if you know what I mean, because I've always loved keeping really detailed diaries, and I would keep my diaries in installments throughout the day. I'd do a bit, write a bit about it, do a bit more and write a bit more, and I would do it in real time. I'm sitting on the bus, I'm on my way to school right now, you know, I'm just looking out of the window and I've seen something or other happen, and I would do it in installments almost in real time. That's how I'd always write my diaries, and I'd read back and love reading back, and I'd always forget what I'd written, so it was always a little bit of a surprise, and I'd love to go back months later and read them as well. So I kind of vlogged in diary form in a way, although it wasn't for any audience at that time. I used to write letters to my friends in exactly that way as well, in sort of real-time installments. And I used to make cassette letters as well for a family member who liked a cassette letter, because it was cassettes in those days, and it was so like vlogging. Looking back on it now, it was so like vlogging. I talk about what I'm doing right now and get lots of audio snippets, and of course they weren't edited, it was just recorded in sequence in those days because I couldn't edit it. And then years and years later, I didn't know what vlogging was, never heard of it, you know, being in my 40s as I was 42 at the time, I'm 48 now, and I was desperate to try and give my daughter some respite from her severe skin condition, which is now under control with medication, but at the time it wasn't. She was having a terrible time with it, and I just, you know what it's like when you're a parent, you just want to fix your children's pain and make it go away. I was looking seriously into moving to Portugal, because every time we'd been there, her skin had cleared up, and so I was kind of thinking, could we go there and give her some respite? So I googled moving to Portugal, and up came a channel called 8 Miles From Home, who were moving to Portugal, and they were a vlogging channel, and I watched their vlog for the first time, and I was like, I want to do that. that's me, that is me. That's what I want to do from this moment onwards for the rest of our days. I love it. They were only doing simple things like, you know, putting the kettle on, making a cup of tea, putting the shopping away, putting the laundry on, but they were talking very intelligently about things and concepts that popped into their heads as they went through the daily life. They were showing areas of Portugal and I just loved it. Yeah, that was my inspiration. I had it in me, and then that was the trigger. So thank you, 8 miles from home. They're now living in Siargao Island in the Philippines. You can check them out. I love them, they're brilliant. Yeah, anyway, so that was that. Next, this one is from AC, and AC asks, what are your hobbies? AC asks a few things actually, or I haven't thought about the last one yet. What are your hobbies? My hobbies, I would say language learning is a hobby. I don't know if I ever envisage myself being fully fluent in any of the languages that I'm learning. I'm learning principally Portuguese at the moment, but I love doing it for the sake of doing it. I just enjoy the process. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle, but with words and vocabulary and concepts. I love it. Oh, and it, you know, gradually the picture grows. It's all within though, so it's a really good kind of jigsaw puzzle because you don't have to break it up and put it back in the box afterwards. You just keep it in you. Well, you can get a bit rusty though if you don't use it, to be fair, but you know, no, I love it. No idea if I'll ever be able to get any good at it, but I really love doing it. So I'd call that a hobby. I'm not doing it really for a career reason or anything like that. I just really enjoy it. Jigsaws, I would say, is a hobby. I'm craving to do jigsaws. I need to get back into it, but I'm always editing till quite often till 11 p.m. and I'm too tired to get the jigsaws out then. I just want to blob out then for an hour before bed. So I've got too much on at the moment to do jigsaws. Walking, I would say, is a hobby. I mean, it's kind of necessary as well, isn't it? We need to keep fit and we need to prioritise our health. But I enjoy it and I kind of feel like it's a fun activity, especially when the weather's good, especially like those last couple of walks that I had with my boyfriend. Really enjoyed those days out, I suppose, are hobbies. Are they hobbies? Going out exploring, seeing new things, and likewise travelling as well. I'd probably call that hobby because it's something I do for fun. I don't think there's been anything that I haven't featured in my vlogs already, but you know, since I've filmed pretty much everything I do, more or less, it would be hard to escape the vlogs, I think. So there we are. Now, what else did you ask? My dream job, being a YouTuber. Seriously, that is my dream job. And also being a musician. What is the best advice you've ever received? Oh, I think I might have to put the camera off and have a think, because I've been making notes. So I didn't be too ad hoc this time, because last time I did a Q&A, I thought, right, I'm not going to look at the questions. Should I put the camera on? That way it'll be really spontaneous. Yes, it was really spontaneous, but I missed out on a load of points that I would have said if I'd have had time to think about it. So this time I've made bullet points, but not for this one. I'll switch this off a second. I had to get a drink to help the brain be triggered into action there. Well, I don't really know. I've probably had a lot of good advice, but the funny thing with advice is unless you're completely receptive to it at that moment and ready to receive that particular bit of advice, it'll bounce off you like a bouncy ball. But some things that have gone in is that old saying, if you look after your pennies, your pounds will look after themselves. I think that is definitely true, and I'm habitually stingy. The other bit of advice, I have no idea who gave me this advice. It could have been a teacher, it could have been one of my parents, I don't know. Just prioritise doing what you love. It's not always practical for everybody to do this at all times, but I do try, and I think it accounts for happiness. Right, what's next? I've put my paper down now. Okay, I've had to have some prompting to pronounce this channel name, username. Oh, what happened there? Okay, something weird just happened to my camera. I don't know if that last thing I just was saying was out of focus, so I think I'd better say it again. Right, I need some coaching for pronouncing this next one, but luckily they've put it in the comments. Your Starlights has asked this question. Oh man, out of all the countries you've visited, which was your favourite? It's got to be Portugal. I've just got a big fondness and a familiarity with it though, so I don't think like it's the best country I've ever visited. It's the one I feel most attached to emotionally. So that's the answer to that one. If you could or are going to visit any more, where would you go? And do you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot. I've barely scratched the surface of traveling the world, and I want to experience more of it. And what I've tended to stick to is like safe, not out of comfort zone, easy European package deals, like booked at the last minute, because they tend to be affordable if they're done at really short notice. I always have them out of season, but I haven't been very adventurous, and I feel like I want to start being a bit more adventurous. I have not been outside Europe, I don't think, so I don't know. I'm gonna have a think about it, but it definitely means getting out of my comfort zone to go to places where, for example, the writing isn't in like the normal writing that we have here. Like if it was Arabic script or something like that. Like when I've gone to Greece, I've gone to really touristy areas and everything's been written in English typewriting anyway. So, you know, even if it's been in Greek, I've been able to decipher it. But if it was in Chinese or something, I probably wouldn't. So yeah, I want to get out of my comfort zone, but I don't know where yet. CJ asks, will you film the big declutter when Izzy goes to uni? Yes, I will. I think I'll have to split it up over a number of vlogs because it's going to literally take me a year. I think I have got so much stuff to get rid of. It's going to be very cathartic, I think. Yeah, I'll just have to see how many gigs I've got on and things like that, because it's going to be very time consuming. There's going to be a lot of it, but I'll do it in stages, and I shall film the stages to a greater or lesser extent as I see fit at the time. You know, if I think it would be interesting for you, I'll film it, and if I think it would be tedious, I won't. I'll just tell you about it afterwards. Carol King, she says, I can always find loads of questions. Well, that's very handy when I'm doing a Q&A. Oh, where would you like to travel to next? I've already touched on that one. What do you do when you complete a bucket list? Make a new one. I've never had a bucket list. I don't have a bucket list, so I can't really answer that one. No bucket list. Did you study music at uni? Yes, I studied contemporary music, actually. Contemporary art music. Backstory on becoming a musician. Wow. How far back do we go? Do we go back to my childhood? Yes, I'm going to go back to my childhood. Well, I just have early memories of picking out notes, sequences of notes, combination of notes on my mum's piano, and just that magical feeling that you get when you create it and you hear those vibrations and those sounds and just thinking, yes, I'm doing this. Likewise, early forays into the recorder, just that magic of just putting one note after another and listening to the intervals and just, thinking, I want to do this. This is really something. And I used to pick out like kiddies' theme tunes on the recorder by ear and stuff like that, and I found it the most exciting and wonderful thing ever. I suppose that's my very, very early origins backstory. My mum bought me a flute when I was 9 because I don't know why, but I was determined I wanted a flute and I wanted to play it. I was already learning recorder. And Mum went against the advice of the recorder teacher, who said she can't even play the recorder yet, she can't have a flute. And Mum was like, well, she really wants one. Sometimes mothers know best, and this one did. She took me to buy a flute. And yeah, then I had flute lessons, private flute lessons, which my parents paid for, thank you. And then did A-level music, did GCSE music, A-level music, went to uni, did a degree in it, and I'm just, been a freelance musician ever since. Love it, wouldn't go back. I've got to picture something in my imagination now. You have special transportation power for 24 hours and you can go anywhere in the world for breakfast, lunch and dinner, evening drinks. Where do you go and what do you order? I don't know. See, that's like harping back to that other travel question. There's so much of the world I haven't scratched the surface of, and because I don't know what they're like, I couldn't make an informed decision. But I am thinking Asia. I'm thinking Asia for food, because I think they do some very tasty vegetarian dishes. So I'd like to go there for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe drinks too. Yes. I don't know what I'd order though, so I'd have to see what they have and choose, but something vegetarian, definitely, and hopefully things I've never tried before. Or pescatarian, because I do eat fish as well. Also, she says, if you saved up money to buy a house and then gifted one in a will, would you blow that money or put it in the bank for unknowns? I would put it in the bank for unknowns, because I like the thought of having opportunities as they arise, in the future, that I couldn't have otherwise afforded, especially for travel, I think. Also, how would you top a pancake? Well, those of you that have been watching my vlogs for years will probably know that I would put spinach and cheese and garlic and mushrooms. I know I'm weird, aren't I? Ivory Animate, the Google Santa Tracker fan, 2006. Number 1, I've got 5 questions here. Number 1, do you plan to use Google Santa Tracker in the future? Probably not, but everybody know that it's there. Google Santa Tracker. I've never used it, and I'm 48. I don't really tend to want to track Santa at my age, really. But anyway, thank you for the question. What's your favourite TV channel? I don't watch TV, really. The only time I put the telly on is when I'm watching with Isabel, and then it tends to be catch up. It tends to be Netflix or something like that she's chosen, you know, she tends to choose something. I sometimes watch a bit of iPlayer with IB, but again, it's just stuff we're watching together. I don't watch telly on my own ever. I don't have it on in the, like I know a lot of households, telly's on, it's just part of the household. Mine isn't. I don't even know how to watch live TV, to my embarrassment. I don't know how to work it. I'd probably find it easier to figure that out on a laptop, to be honest, through the iPlayer page. Yeah, I've lost track of how it works. But when I used to watch TV, BBC4 was my favourite channel, without any shadow of a doubt. I liked the depth of the content. I found it very intellectually stimulating, and I liked that there weren't any adverts either, and you could learn so much. I don't choose to watch fiction ever. I'm a fact person when it comes to my entertainment, I know, really, but I love vlogs. See, I watch YouTube every night. After I finish editing, which can be around 11 p.m, I'll have an hour of just watching vlogs and things before I go to bed, and I love them. I love the real stuff. See. Number 3, have you seen my Google Santa Tracker videos? I'm afraid I haven't, but if anyone else wants to go and watch them, please do. Have you been to any states in America? No, I haven't. I want to. It's just so far away and such a lot of money to pay for the ticket to travel. I hope I can go there one day. I would love to see what it's like, but I feel like I know it from everybody's vlogs that I watch, or the Americans over there. Have you watched Bluey before? I don't know who Bluey is or what Bluey is, so no, I haven't. I'm going to end the first section of my Q&A here. Thank you so much for watching or listening if you were putting your laundry away or something. I'll do another one. If this is your first time to my channel, I normally make daily vlogs. I'm normally very visual, but I'm not today. Thank you so much for watching. Could you please give it a like if you haven't like it, subscribe down below to watch more videos from me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!